December 26th, 1946, Las Vegas, Nevada. The temperature has dropped to 41 degrees, which is cold for the desert, but feels colder because of the wind coming off the spring mountains to the west. Highway 91 runs south from downtown Las Vegas through open scrubland, and on that highway, set back from the road in the middle of nothing, stands the Flamingo Hotel. It is opening night. The hotel is not finished. Several of the guest rooms are still under construction. The restaurant is operational, but the kitchen has not been fully equipped. The swimming pool exists, but is not heated. The carpets in some of the public areas have not arrived. The original opening had been delayed twice because of construction complications, and the decision to open on December 26th was made not because the hotel was ready, but because the pressure from the investors who had been watching their money disappear into a Nevada construction site had become impossible to ignore any longer. The guests who have come tonight are the ones who made it. Some of the celebrities who were supposed to appear never showed up. The weather on the West Coast has grounded flights. The casino operators who run the competing downtown establishments have made it quietly clear to their regular customers that they would prefer those customers not attend the Flamingo opening. The opening night crowd is thinner than the publicity had promised, and the losses at the gaming tables by the end of the night will be significant, because the house has not yet figured out how to manage the operation properly, because the dealers are new and the systems are not yet calibrated, because everything about this evening is improvised in a way that anyone watching closely can see. Anyone watching closely would include Meyer Lansky. He is there that night, standing slightly apart from the main action, the way he always stands slightly apart from the main action, watching the casino floor with the expression he always wears when he is assessing an operation, which is the expression of someone reading a text rather than watching a spectacle. He sees the problems. He sees the dealers making mistakes that cost the house money. He sees the cash management being handled improperly. He sees the guest flow being mismanaged. He sees a dozen things that need to be fixed, and his mind is already organizing the fixes in the order they should be implemented. But he also sees something else. He sees what Ben Siegel has built. And what Ben Siegel has built, despite the construction chaos and the thin opening night crowd and the missing carpets and the inadequate kitchen, is something that has never existed before. Not in Las Vegas, not anywhere. A hotel casino that does not look like any hotel casino that has ever been built, that looks instead like something from a world that does not yet exist, but that clearly should, that has ambition written into its architecture, into its grounds, into the scale of everything around it, that says, in a language that nobody needed to speak to understand, that this place has decided to be something larger than what Las Vegas has ever been. This is the story of that night, of what happened in the desert in December 1946, of the decision that created Las Vegas, of the two men who made it, and of the specific quality of the vision that one of them had and the other understood. To understand the Flamingo story, you have to understand what Las Vegas was in 1945. Not the Las Vegas of the neon and the shows and the world-class entertainment. That Las Vegas does not exist yet. What exists in 1945 is a small Nevada town with a population of approximately 17,000 people, a functioning railroad junction, some modest casino hotels downtown on Fremont Street, and a federal dam project that has brought some economic activity to the region. The legal gambling that Nevada permits is an attraction for regional visitors and for the crews working on the dam. It is not a national destination. It is not an industry. It is a local amenity. The Flamingo changes all of that. Not on opening night. Opening night is a disaster by most measures. But in the months after opening night, once the problems are fixed and the operation is running properly, The Flamingo demonstrates something that changes the entire calculus of what Las Vegas could be. It demonstrates that if you build something that is genuinely worth traveling to see, people will travel to see it. That the demand for exactly what the Flamingo offers, luxury, excitement, glamour, the specific combination of high stakes and high style that the downtown establishments could not provide, is not local, it is national. How did this specific vision emerge? Who looked at the Nevada desert in 1945 and saw, in what everyone else saw as empty scrubland, the location for the most ambitious entertainment project in American history? The honest answer is Benjamin Siegel. It is his vision, documented by everyone who was there, that the desert could become a destination. That if you built something magnificent enough in the middle of the nothing would become irrelevant, and the magnificence would draw people from everywhere. He had been in Los Angeles running the Syndicate's California operations, and he had absorbed something from that environment. The specific California quality of possibility. The sense that the next thing could be built from scratch in the desert. The understanding that in America, location is secondary to vision. He brought this to Meyer Lansky in 1945. Not as a fully formed business plan with financial projections and market analysis, as a vision, as an idea that he described with the specific passionate directness that characterized everything Bugsy Siegel communicated. He told Meyer that Las Vegas could be the entertainment capital of America, that what they needed to do was build something that was so much better than anything that existed there that the comparison was not even possible. A hotel that belonged in a major city. A casino that operated at a standard that made the existing operations look like what they were, which was modest local gambling halls. Meyer Lansky listened. He always listened completely before responding, and then he asked the questions that Ben could not answer, because Ben never answered questions about money if he could avoid them. He asked about costs, about construction timelines, about regulatory requirements, about the competitive landscape and the customer demographics and the supply chains for the hotel operation. He asked about the financial structure of the project and who would invest and at what return expectations. Ben answered these questions in the way Ben always answered financial questions, which was broadly and enthusiastically and without specific numbers. But the enthusiasm was real and the vision was real. And Meyer Lansky, who had spent 30 years understanding what was real in the things that Ben told him and what was aspiration, understood that the vision was real in a specific way that mattered. Ben had seen something. He was not inventing it. He was describing something that existed somewhere in the possible future of that specific piece of desert, something he could see clearly, and that Meyer, listening to him describe it, could begin to see as well. The decision to support the project was Meyer Lansky's most consequential financial decision. The Syndicate's investment in the Flamingo was the first major organized crime investment in Las Vegas, and it established the template for everything that followed. If the Flamingo had failed completely and permanently, if it had opened and closed and been written off as an expensive mistake, the history of organized crime's involvement in Las Vegas might have been entirely different, and Las Vegas itself might have remained a modest regional gambling destination. Meyer Lansky decided to make the investment because he believed in the vision and because he understood the specific mathematical logic of what Ben was proposing. The Nevada gambling license was the key. Nevada had legalized casino gambling in 1931 and had created a regulatory framework that, if you could obtain a license, allowed you to operate a casino in a way that was legal under state law, even if the federal government and the laws of other states would have prohibited it. The specific combination of legal operation and the scale of revenue that a high-end casino could generate created a financial profile unlike anything available in the illegal gambling operations that the Syndicate ran in other states. Legal casino revenue could be reported, taxed, processed through a business structure that produced clean profits rather than illegal proceeds requiring cleaning. The Flamingo project was not just a casino investment. It was an investment in a different kind of operation, one that operated in daylight rather than in shadow, that generated legitimate revenue, that fed into the offshore financial architecture through a legal channel rather than an illegal one. Meyer Lansky understood this dimension of the investment more clearly than any of the other syndicate investors who were being asked to put money into Ben's desert vision. The construction chaos of 1946 is documented extensively. Ben's management of the project is characterized by the same qualities that characterized everything Ben Siegel did, which were extraordinary energy, absolute commitment to the vision, and a relationship to budget constraints that was essentially non-existent. The original estimate of $1 million climbs past $2 million, past $3 million, past $4 million. Building materials are scarce in the post-war economy, and Ben pays premium prices to get them when he needs them. Design changes happen constantly as he refines the vision. Each change costs money that is not in the budget. The other syndicate investors are losing patience. They have put money into a project that was supposed to be complete months ago and is still not finished and is not generating any revenue. The amount of money that has already been committed is substantial, and the requests for more keep coming. There are rumors about the finances that Meyer Lansky is hearing from multiple directions. Rumors that suggest the money is not all going where it should be going. Meyer Lansky investigates. He is the financial architect of the syndicate's operations, and financial irregularities in syndicate projects are his specific domain. What he finds in his investigation of the Flamingo finances is what the rumors suggested he would find. Money is moving in ways that do not correspond to construction costs. The specific mechanism is elegant because the person responsible for it has learned from watching Meyer Lansky manage financial architectures for 20 years. But the mechanism, however elegant, is what it is. Money is leaving the project through channels that lead somewhere other than construction. He confronts this reality. He does not immediately bring it to the other syndicate investors. He investigates further. He wants to understand the scale and the intent before he decides what to do. What he finds is a scope that is uncomfortable rather than catastrophic. The amounts are real, but they are not so large that the project is fundamentally compromised. Ben has been skimming from the construction budget. The question of what to do about this is the most difficult question Meyer Lansky faces in the entire Flamingo episode. The other investors are demanding accountability. They want to know where the money went. They want consequences. Some of them have already decided what consequences they think are appropriate. Meyer Lansky is the person who could stop those consequences. He has the standing and the relationships to intervene. He has the specific position of being the person whose judgment everyone in the room trusts more than anyone else's. If he argues that Ben should be protected, that the situation can be managed, that the project should be allowed to continue under closer financial supervision, there is a real possibility that the argument prevails. He does not make that argument. His silence, in the specific context of those meetings, is the equivalent of consent. He knows what the silence means, and he accepts what it means. The decision is made without him speaking against it. Opening night is December 26, 1946. The hotel opens before it is ready, because the pressure from investors who have been watching their money disappear has become impossible to continue resisting. The celebrity guests who were supposed to attend mostly do not come. The casino loses money because the operation has not been properly set up. The opening night is, by the standard measure, a failure. Meyer Lansky stands on the casino floor that night and sees both things simultaneously. He sees the failure of the opening, and he sees the potential of what has been built. He sees the problems with the current operation, and he sees how they would be fixed. He sees the thin crowd, and he sees, in the architecture and the grounds and the scale of the enterprise, the reason a much larger crowd would come once the word got out. He is already planning. The hotel will close temporarily to complete construction and fix the operational problems. It will reopen. He will take direct financial oversight of the reopening. The operation will be corrected with the same precision he applies to every operation he takes control of. And then it will work. He does not know exactly when. He knows it will work. He was right. The Flamingo reopened in March 1947. 3 months later, Ben Siegel was dead, shot in Beverly Hills. Meyer Lansky took over the financial management of the hotel. By 1948, 18 months after the disastrous opening night, the Flamingo was profitable. By 1949, it was substantially profitable. By 1950, it was generating the kind of returns that the original investors had been told to expect. Everything that Las Vegas became began with Ben's vision and Meyer's investment in that vision. The two men who stood in a hotel that was not finished, on an opening night that was going badly, in a desert where nothing of this kind had ever been built before, between them created the template that every Las Vegas hotel that came after them was built on. The scale, the ambition, the decision to treat the destination as the product, to make the journey to Las Vegas itself the point, rather than the gaming at the end of it. December 26, 1946, the night Vegas was born. Not in triumph. In a half-finished hotel with missing carpets and a cold wind off the mountains and a casino floor losing money on its first night of operation. Born in exactly the way most things that last are born, which is messily and prematurely, and with everything still to be proven, and the people who built it the only ones who can see what it is going to become. Meyer Lansky saw it. He saw it that night, standing on the floor of the Flamingo Casino, while everything around him confirmed that the opening was a failure. He saw past the opening to the thing that the opening was the beginning of. That specific quality of vision, the ability to see the real thing inside the apparent thing, is the quality that made him what he was. He saw Las Vegas inside the desert. He saw the empire inside the investment. He saw the future inside the failure. And he was right. He usually was. That was the thing about Meyer Lansky that everyone who dealt with him eventually understood. He was right about what things were going to become more often than anyone had a right to be. He was right about Las Vegas on a cold December night in 1946, when almost nobody else who was there could see anything except a hotel that was not finished and an opening night that was going badly. Las Vegas exists because two men saw something in the desert that nobody else could see. One of them had the vision. The other had the understanding to know that the vision was real. Between them, in the Nevada desert in 1946, they created the entertainment capital of the world. The first night in Vegas, the night it started, the night Meyer Lansky stood on a casino floor watching everything go wrong and knew, with the specific precision that characterized every assessment he ever made, that it was going to be exactly right. If this story of the night Las Vegas was born, of the two men who created the most consequential entertainment investment in American history, and of the specific quality of vision that turned a desert into a destination, moved you, subscribe to this channel, because the full story of what Meyer Lansky built and how he built it is the story of the American 20th century told from the inside. Drop a comment. Tell me whether you think the Flamingo would have succeeded without Meyer Lansky's financial management after the opening night disaster. And remember this, the most important investments are not the ones that look good on opening night. They are the ones that look bad on opening night and right forever after. Meyer Lansky made that investment. Vegas is the result. There is a moment from the documentation of that opening night that deserves its own examination. It is a moment involving the specific relationship between what was visible and what was real. The hotel was losing money at the tables. The crowd was thin. The staff was making operational mistakes that were costing the house. By every visible measure, the evening was confirming the fears of everyone who had argued against the project. And standing in the middle of this apparent confirmation was Meyer Lansky, watching, and not seeing confirmation of the fears, seeing something else. What he saw was the response of the guests who had made it through the weather and the competing pressures to be there. He watched how they moved through the space. He watched how they responded to the design, to the grounds, to the specific quality of the physical environment that Ben had created. He watched them in the casino, not focused on the money they were losing or winning, but on the experience of being there, on the way the environment produced a specific kind of engagement that the downtown operations could not produce. He watched people in the Flamingo that night as people who had arrived somewhere and were experiencing where they had arrived, not just as people gambling. This distinction between gambling as an activity and gambling as a destination experience was the distinction that created Las Vegas. It was the distinction Ben Siegel had grasped intuitively, and Meyer Lansky was confirming empirically on opening night. The people in the Flamingo Casino were not the same as the people in the downtown establishments. They were not there because they happened to be passing through and thought they might put a few dollars on the roulette. They were there because they had come specifically to be there. The Flamingo was the reason for the trip, not an amenity at the end of it. This is the specific insight that the opening night validated, even as it failed on every financial measure. The model worked. The concept was correct. People would come to the desert specifically to be in a place like this. The operational problems that were producing the financial losses were problems Meyer Lansky knew how to fix. The concept problem, the question of whether the model would attract the right kind of visitor, was answered on opening night. It would. The people who made it there proved it. He left that night understanding something that he had believed before and now knew. The investment was correct. The vision was real. The execution needed to be corrected, and he was capable of correcting it. What had seemed, to everyone watching the Flamingo opening from outside, like a disaster, was actually the first data point in what was going to become one of the most successful investments in American entertainment history. The specific mechanics of how Meyer Lansky corrected the execution after the opening are a study in operational intelligence. The hotel closed for refurbishment in January 1947. During the closure, he reviewed every aspect of the operation and identified the specific problems. The table limits were adjusted to optimize the house's expected return. The dealer training was redesigned to correct the errors that had been costing the house money on opening night. The cash management systems were replaced with systems that he had used in other operations and that he trusted. The staff ratios were restructured. The supply chains for the hotel and restaurant operations were renegotiated. When the hotel reopened in March 1947, it was a different operation in its management, though the same in its physical design. The design was Ben's, and it was correct. The management was now Meyer's, and it was also correct. The combination of the right vision and the right execution began producing the results that the original investment thesis had predicted. The Las Vegas that subsequently developed, the hotels that came after the Flamingo, the Strip that grew along Highway 91, the entertainment industry that made Las Vegas the entertainment capital of the world, all of it was built on the template that the Flamingo established. Not the specific design details, the concept. The idea that a hotel casino in the desert could be a destination rather than a convenience. that people would fly from New York and Chicago and Los Angeles specifically to be in that environment, that the journey was part of the experience rather than an obstacle to it. This concept was Ben's. The financial architecture that made it viable, the syndicate investment structure that provided the capital, the operational management that turned the concept into a functioning, profitable business, the oversight that protected the investment after Ben's death, all of that was Meyer Lansky's contribution. The two men built Las Vegas between them in a way that neither could have built it alone. The vision, without the financial architecture and the operational intelligence, would have remained a dream. The financial architecture and the operational intelligence, without the vision, would have found other applications that would have been successful, but would not have been Las Vegas. The specific night that this story focuses on, December 26, 1946, is the night these two contributions met for the first time in their final form. Ben's vision made physical and visible in the half-finished hotel with the cold wind outside and the thin opening night crowd. Meyer's understanding of what that vision was worth, standing on the floor, watching it fail, and knowing it was going to succeed. After Ben died in June 1947, Meyer Lansky carried both things. He carried the vision as a trust, the specific commitment to making the Flamingo what Ben had said it would be, to proving that the vision was right even without the man who had the vision. This is not a sentimental interpretation of his subsequent management of the hotel. It is an accurate one. Meyer Lansky managed the Flamingo after Ben's death with a quality of attention and commitment that went beyond what pure financial self-interest required. He had other investments. He had other operations. The Flamingo was one of several things demanding his attention, but he gave it specific attention, specifically because it was Ben's thing, because making it work was a form of honoring the vision that Ben had died for. He never said this publicly. He never said it privately in any documented way that has been preserved. But the actions speak. The Flamingo under Meyer Lansky's financial supervision became profitable and remained profitable. It became the standard that subsequent Las Vegas hotels tried to meet and eventually surpass. It established the template that made Las Vegas, Las Vegas. And the man who did that work, who fixed the operational problems and managed the financial structure and turned the opening night disaster into a long-term success, was doing it for multiple reasons simultaneously. For the return on investment, for the syndicate's interest in the operations, and for the man who had stood in a room in 1945 and described, with the passionate precision of someone who had actually seen a future that nobody else could see, what the desert was going to become. The first night in Vegas was December 26, 1946. It was cold, and the hotel was not finished, and the crowd was thin, and the casino lost money. It was also the beginning of the most consequential entertainment investment in American history. And the man who made it possible to begin, who provided the capital and the trust in the vision and the financial architecture that held the investment together through the disaster of the opening and the tragedy of Ben's death and the operational challenges of the first years, was Meyer Lansky. Standing on the casino floor, watching everything go wrong, knowing it was going to be exactly right, already planning what came next. The relationship between Meyer Lansky and Las Vegas does not end with the Flamingo. After the Flamingo proves the concept, the syndicate's involvement in Las Vegas expands significantly through the late 940s and 950s. Other hotels are built. Other investments are made. Meyer Lansky's financial architecture for processing casino revenue, the specific system of skimming and offshore transfer that would eventually attract the attention of federal investigators, is developed and refined through the Las Vegas operations. Las Vegas becomes, in a specific financial sense, the engine of the offshore architecture that Meyer Lansky has been building since the early 940s. The legal casino revenue that the Nevada license generates creates something that the illegal gambling operations in other states cannot create, which is a legitimate business with a legitimate revenue stream that provides cover for the offshore financial operations. Money from the Las Vegas casinos goes through the same offshore channels as money from the illegal operations, but it enters those channels as legal revenue rather than illegal proceeds. The specific structure of the Nevada gaming industry, with its regulatory framework and its cash-intensive operations, and its highly variable revenue that is difficult to verify from outside, is ideally suited to Meyer Lansky's financial architecture. The Flamingo was not just an entertainment investment. It was the first major piece of a legal business infrastructure that made the offshore financial architecture more sustainable. This is the specific dimension of the Las Vegas investment that most accounts of the Flamingo story miss. The hotel was a financial innovation as much as an entertainment innovation. The entertainment innovation is Ben Siegel's contribution. The financial innovation is Meyer Lansky's. The two contributions together created something that was more than the sum of its parts. The years between the opening in December 1946 and the Flamingo's full profitability in 1948 are the years when Meyer Lansky's operational intelligence is most clearly demonstrated. These are difficult years. Ben is dead. The other syndicate investors are still skeptical. The hotel is operating, but not yet at the level that justifies the investment. There are ongoing operational challenges and ongoing pressure from the competing downtown operations, and ongoing scrutiny from Nevada regulators who are still figuring out how to regulate the industry they have created. Meyer Lansky manages all of it. He manages it from New York primarily, not from Las Vegas, through trusted representatives who execute his instructions in the specific operational decisions and who report back on the specific indicators he has identified as the measures of the operation's health. He is not present in Las Vegas the way Ben was present. He does not need to be present. He manages through information and instruction and the relationships he maintains with the people on the ground who execute the work. The specific moment when the Flamingo crosses from marginal operation to established success is not a single night. It is a period of months in 1948 when the revenue numbers begin to consistently exceed the operating costs and the projections for the quarter start to be met and then exceeded. The syndicate investors, who had been skeptical for 2 years, begin to receive the returns that the original investment thesis had promised. The attitude toward the Las Vegas project changes from skepticism to enthusiasm. Other investments are considered. Meyer Lansky, by 1950, is managing the financial architecture of multiple Las Vegas operations, not just the Flamingo. The syndicate has expanded its Las Vegas presence significantly on the basis of the Flamingo's success, and Meyer's specific financial intelligence is applied to all of it. The offshore architecture that processes Las Vegas casino revenue is operating at a scale and with a sophistication that it could not have achieved from the smaller and riskier illegal gambling operations alone. He built Las Vegas, in the specific sense that without his investment decision in 1945, without his trust in Ben Siegel's vision, without his financial management after the opening night disaster, without his operational oversight in the years between the opening and the establishment of the Flamingo's profitability, the sequence of events that created Las Vegas would not have happened, or would have happened differently, later, with different people, and would have produced something different. The Las Vegas that exists today is the descendant of what Ben saw and Meyer built in the Nevada desert in 1946. Every hotel on the Strip, every entertainment venue, every casino that processes billions of dollars annually, every convention and concert and boxing match and bachelor party and wedding and anniversary dinner that happens in Las Vegas every year. All of it traces its lineage, directly and verifiably, to the Flamingo Hotel that opened on a cold December night in 1946 to a thin crowd in an unfinished building and proceeded to lose money on its first night of operation. Meyer Lansky was there. He saw it start. He stood on that floor and watched it fail and knew it was going to succeed. And then he spent the next 2 years making sure it did. Las Vegas remembers many things. It has its own mythology, its own origin stories, its own cast of characters. But the real origin story, the one that connects the desert of 1946 to the entertainment capital of today, runs through 2 men who are not the heroes of the official mythology. One of them died in a Beverly Hills living room before he could see what his vision became. The other lived to 80 years old and watched the desert city he helped build grow into something beyond what even Ben's extraordinary imagination had fully conceived. Meyer Lansky died in 2083. Las Vegas was by then one of the fastest-growing cities in America. The strip that had started with the Flamingo's single property in 1946 stretched for miles with hotels that dwarfed anything Ben had imagined. The entertainment industry that had begun with a thin opening night crowd had become one of the largest entertainment economies in the world. The desert was a city. The nothing was something. The vision was real. He had seen it first, or second. He had seen it because Ben described it to him, and the description was so clear and so specific and so grounded in something genuine that Meyer, who had spent 30 years learning to tell the real visions from the self-deceptions, recognized it as real. He trusted the vision. He invested in it. He kept the investment alive when it was failing, and then he watched it succeed on a scale that exceeded even his own projections. December 26th, 1946. The first night in Vegas. Cold, thin, incomplete, losing money. The beginning of everything. Meyer Lansky standing on the floor, knowing it. Consider what it takes to be right about something when almost nobody else believes in it. The Flamingo's opening night was visible evidence to most observers that the vision was wrong. The hotel was not finished. The crowd was not there. The casino was losing money. Meyer Lansky was watching all of this and seeing something different. Not because he could not see failure. He saw the failures clearly. He also saw what the failures were failures in. They were failures of execution, not failures of concept. The concept was being confirmed even as the execution was demonstrating its problems. He watched the people in the room and how they responded to the place, and he saw that they were responding to the Flamingo as a destination, as a place worth being in for its own sake. That was the concept. That was what Ben had said would happen. And it was happening, even on opening night, even through the operational failures. The concept was right. The execution was fixable. He made the decision to stay and fix rather than cut losses and leave. He was right. The Flamingo became profitable. Las Vegas became the entertainment capital of the world. And the man who read the opening night correctly, who saw the concept succeeding even as the execution was failing, was Meyer Lansky. Standing on the floor, watching it fail, knowing it was going to work,